There you go. Okay, so clap on 3840. Nick, this is a real clap.
And I started at 8:38:40. But I gave my standard 3 or 4 triplets.
Okay. That's good enough.
That's how it works.
Works for me. As long as the first one was on time.
The first one was on time.
Okay.
I sounded like I was a little bit early. Just
well, that's the whole point. Like when you just count, if I go 1, 2, 3, and then we all clap, then it all sounds very lagged. So
well, you also have the delay of the actual your network and everything.
Exactly. I'll screenshot it and send it to you guys to show the relative lag between all of us. It's quite fascinating. So, okay, we didn't decide what we were gonna talk about today. Are you guys?
Follow up is I have a new computer. That's follow up.
Okay, we'll put that in the notes.
Where are the notes even? What have I done with them?
Are you for real? They're in the same place they always are, Nick.
You're in the same place you always are, Mike.
I really am.
I'm kind of curious about the Tesla competitor one.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there'll be follow up there.
Which order are we doing?
We'll decide. We'll take it as it comes.
That we'll do live.
All right.
The show's it's willy-nilly. It's organized, but willy-nilly.
Organized chaos is what you're saying.
Yes. Quite.
All right.
Like every job description I've ever had. This is chaos. We need you to create order and the world from it. Actually, on a serious note, okay, I'll just tell the story and you can open with that.
Okay.
So
I'll open with whatever I want, by the way.
Sorry?
I'll open with whatever I want.
Yeah, you probably will. Anyway, so I think this is based on a misreading of Norse mythology somewhere in my life in the past few years. But I think like one of the origin stories, one of the like creation myths is that there was a giant named Chaos and the gods got together and slew the giant named Chaos. And like out of his hair came the forests and his blood became the rivers and I think his skull became the sky and stuff like that. But yada, yada, yada. Out of chaos, they created the world after slaying chaos. And I feel like that is like every job ever.
Slaying chaos.
Yeah. You just get like a little necklace that has the spear of Odin on it. It's like, what's that? Oh, it's a symbol of like everything I ever do.
Well, it's kind of like with, I don't know if you guys watch Moana, but
no.
Maui.
What is Moana?
Moana.
Oh, okay. Go on.
Anyway, you probably haven't watched it unless you have a child. But
I have definitely watched it, I think.
Oh.
It's the Hawaiian-ish Disney Pixar something.
Sure is. Not Lilo and Stitch. That's the first Hawaiian-ish one.
Okay, what's not confusing it with that? But go on.
Anyway, so Maui, as Hawaiian mythology goes, created the islands of Hawaii. And for every conquer and milestone in his life, he got a tattoo for it. So then on his body is a bunch of tattoos that represent history, like his history and all that kind of stuff. So it reminds me of that when you're talking about your necklace of job skulls. It's kind of like that. So let's get started here. Nick, you had another story for us. We've talked about your computer woes and how it turns your streaming into a potato-like experience. So has there been progress on that front?
I was actually really excited for today because before we decided to F it and not do it live, I have a new computer. It actually connects to the 5G wireless, and I was really excited to see if it would keep up with the live stream. And now we'll never know.
Well, technically we're still live streaming, just no one is watching it.
Or we'll figure it out in the next 2 weeks, a month, whatever. But the important thing is, new computer, it appears to be working well. I can actually keep open like a bunch of Chrome tabs and talk to you here. So that's a big improvement right there.
And not only that, we can hear you just fine.
It's true.
Oh my God.
Compared to how
this is amazing.
Compared to how it was the last time we were on your show, Dan.
That's true. It was terrible.
It was very bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually quite good.
For upgrading your computer after my show.
Listen, you played an important role because you're what made me realize I had hit rock bottom. Which is what everyone wants to hear. It also has an upgraded camera, but just given how the light is doing things today, you wouldn't know because I'm just like this blanched out figure.
Yeah, you got some direct sun on you.
This is the
I
final
even
step.
shut the drapes. That's just like diffused light. It's making me look like a ghost. Spooky ghost.
Nick, this is the first step in your Obsolescence Anonymous support group, is acknowledging that your computer sucks.
Well, actually, it was when I still worked in Edmonton that I realized, man, every piece of technology I use is a piece of crap. I really need to upgrade.
Actually, that's true. The first one that I noticed you embracing was getting the Pixel, because that was like the first flagship phone that I was aware of you really owning, at least while it was still a flagship.
I might have gotten the HTC Desire when it was still a flagship, but
that's barely a flagship.
Sure. You're barely a flagship.
I feel like now I'm moving behind the times. I just got a new phone yesterday, and it's the S8.
Ooh, the S8's good.
It's a great phone, but there's the S9 out right now, which has the high speed camera. I think it's like 200 frames per second on the camera.
Oh,
fancy. I mean, I was super excited. I'm like, oh, maybe I can get that. No, there's no way. I can't afford that kind of stuff. No, are you kidding me?
No, the S8 is a good phone. I think if you can get a phone that's within the last year, like it's at least it's only one model behind, then I think you're pretty good. Like usually it will still be supported for a couple of years after that. It'll still get software upgrades, and
I feel like I made the right choice on this time. But I remember when phones used to come out, and if you didn't buy the newest phone, you'd be lacking, right? Like by the time your contract would be over, that phone would be hurting pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right. So I still have that kind of mentality that I need to buy the newest phone every single time. And this is the first time I actually bought the one back.
Yeah. Well, the OnePlus line of phones, they're pretty good. And their newest model is typically priced about the same as the leading brands like Samsung and Apple as their last year's model, or sometimes even 2 years old model, but with the hardware and capabilities of the current year's model. So like when I bought my OnePlus 5T, it had pretty much the same capabilities as the iPhone 10, obviously without the iOS, smoothness and performance. But as far as Android phones go, it's right up there with the S9 for sure. But it's, at the price of an S7, basically. Like I was actually considering getting an S7, but I'm like, well, I don't want a model that's 2 years old or 3 years old at this point. So I figured I'd go with the OnePlus 5T. That's pretty much the same price as the S7, but can kind of keep up with the current phones. Yeah. So, no, that's just good, Nick. What computer did you end up getting?
The Lenovo IdeaPad 520.
Oh, that means nothing to me, but that sounds cool. Lenovo's supposed to be a good brand.
It's basically like the last PC I had was it started life as a gaming PC. This one it's an i7. I think it's last gen, I think. So it's 7th generation and a video card, but no SSD.
Video card did you end up with?
GeForce something. Is there a way to easily find that
video card?
It should be if you go into your about this computer.
I'll tell you what card I have. It's not very good. This is fascinating radio, by the way.
I know, I'm riveted right now.
Wait. Okay, wait. I'll kill the dead air the best way I know how. Device name. Yeah, I don't see it here.
So if you just go right click on my computer and then properties, then
don't have a my computer icon right now.
Okay. I have the AMD A10 7800 R7.
What a casual.
I'd say so.
I'm running the 1070 on this one. This is my big PC.
Ooh. Can you play all the cool games?
I can.
Are you on Fortnite?
I actually play Fortnite on the Xbox. I got this great, awesome gaming PC, and I barely use it for gaming.
Can you still hook up Xbox controllers to a PC?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
I do that quite often.
Yeah. I haven't done PC gaming in a while. Kind of miss it.
I'm more of a like a controller guy. So mouse and keyboard, I get really confused by. So
I think we talked about this on the Northern Nerdcast, but I'm the worst gamer ever, in which I will just get one game and then just become obsessive with it and just play that forever. And so my last PC game, I think, was Battlefield Vietnam. Just played that into the sunset.
I didn't know you were a first-person shooter guy.
I wasn't.
Oh.
Well, like I played that Age of Mythology and the other one, Unreal 2K3.
Isn't Battlefield a first-person shooter?
Well, yeah, but that's a first-person shooter, and then I also played Age of Mythology, which was real-time strategy, and then Unreal 2K3. It is a first-person shooter, but it's unlike every other first-person shooter out there, I think.
Oh, that's not a fighting game? I thought that was a fighting game.
No.
Sounds like a fighting game. I'm thinking Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Oh,
if I said something else.
Is it a fighting game?
Unreal Tournament 2003 is like an arena style first-person shooter, I think.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Yes, quite. So moving on in our follow-up here. This was a couple weeks ago that this happened, but I was actually traveling in the States for about 10 days. And while doing so, I wanted to make sure that I was able to stay connected, internet-wise. So I looked around at some of the roaming plans that they had, and Roam Mobility is a provider that offers roaming plans throughout the US for fairly reasonable rates. Definitely cheaper than what a lot of the actual self-service providers offer. Like here in Canada, if you're on TELUS, they'll offer a roaming rate of, I don't know, say like $1 for 100 megabytes or something ridiculous like that. Whereas in the States, or say not even $1 100, it's like $1 for 20 megabytes a lot of the time. That's probably closer to what a lot of the rates are. Yeah, no, they're really bad.
That's crazy.
So with Roam Mobility, you're able to, like, it's their own SIM card, but they have agreements with the carriers in the States to offer some pretty competitive rates. So that's what I ended up using. I believe it was about $60 or $70 for 5 gigabytes, which is not too bad. I mean, it's roaming, so you're going to pay a little bit more than what you pay here. But Fido, so if Rogers has like a Roam like home plan where you can pay, I don't know, $5 to $8 per day in order to use your current plan limits.
Yep. While
roaming. So Fido, being a subsidiary or whatever, a partner, MVNO.
Fido's parent company is Rogers.
Yeah. And now they're offering a Fido Roam plan, which is effectively the Roam like home model that Rogers does. And before, they weren't offering it for any of the grandfather plans. It was only their current plans if you're subscribed to it. So having been a Fido customer for like 10 years, even more at this point, like 15 years, I think, I was on a fairly old plan. Like the plan itself is about 8 to 10 years old at this point. So my plan was not valid to be on that Fido Roam plan. But now they've opened up the Fido Roam plan to any Fido plan, any and every plan, including grandfathered plans. So I clarified with them directly, and they confirmed that it was in fact open to all subscribers, regardless of the plan that you have. So that's really good news. Kind of saves you the hassle of having to set up a new second account with Roam or any of those other type of providers. For like Roam Mobility is not the only one, but I think it's kind of the biggest one out there. But there is still a little bit of extra work to set that up, and then you're not getting that much of a better deal. Like I think the Roam Mobility plans are still a little bit better than the Fido Roam plans. The Roam Mobility ones are $5 a day if you get the minutes, text, and data, and then the Fido Roam is $7 a day to use whatever stuff you currently have on your plan. Dan, you
take a quick break here for a second.
Yeah, sure.
I have a slight issue.
Okay, yeah.
In my hose.
No worries. Yeah,
I need to go take care of real quick.
Okay.
Sorry about this.
Yeah, no worries. See, this is why we're not live.
It's a good thing that we're not live.
He acts as if this doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, no, exactly.
He must have like a really good podcast if this doesn't happen all the time.
Well, they just post the live audio. They don't do any sort of editing or cuts.
So that's true.
If this was live and we just posted it, then we'd have to fill the air with something. But
okay, but seriously, I transplanted some plants yesterday, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah, so I've got a Caribbean Red and a Bucolokia right over here. Let me just see if I can, without disturbing everything. There.
Ooh.
Yeah, they sat outside for about an hour and a half yesterday, which I was not sure would be possible. But they sat there in like sunset light levels. I'm sorry about all the noise I'm sure this is making. They sat in sunset light levels, and I specifically requested a LED lamp. It's my grow light, one that had some UV in it, so that they'd be semi-hardened off by the time I put them outside. And I'm pretty excited because it seems to have worked. I kind of want to just throw them out there and leave them to the wolves, but I also want peppers this year. So there's that. Oh, God. Consarn it. Hey, can you hear me now?
It's a good thing we're recording in mono and not stereo. Otherwise, you'd only be in one ear.
I did actually remember to switch it to mono recording today. I'm pretty excited about that too.
You normally record in mono, don't you?
Yes, but this is a new computer.
Ah, right. So you have to
That's an option I switched once and then never again.
Is it recording on the right microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, I hope so. Here, let's check. Yep.
Or you could just look up into the drop down. But
I mean, you could look into the drop down, but then you have to trust the drop down, and I'm just not sure I'm there yet. Yeah, so I have 2 peppers potted up in big pots here. We'll continue hardening and observing. Maybe get them just a little bit of noon sun, like 5-10 minutes maybe, just to proof test. But I'm really excited because I don't know how active you are in gardening, but if you start plants inside and then just put them outside, they will die.
I thought you were about to say if you put plants inside, then put them outside, they'll thrive. Because I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
No, you start them inside. And then if you start them inside and then you put them outside, they will die. It's because apparently the leaves get this waxy coating that helps them deal with the UV in the solar spectrum. And it's just like people. Like, if you don't get a tan before going out into the sun, you're going to get burned.
I'm pretty sure that's a myth.
I
think base tans aren't really a thing.
Mike, how long have you been white?
Racially? My whole life.
Okay. And you've not noticed that, like, once you tan, you stop burning as much?
I don't let myself get tan because I'll burn. I
go straight to burning.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm sorry. You're that level of white. Okay. Yeah. No, I've always
level white.
I'm not blessed with the Colombian melanin genetics to be able to survive a tan.
Well, nor am I, but apparently I have it. I've always tanned really well.
Like, even if I tan, it just like flakes off, and it's very gross. So.
Oh, really?
I feel like if I tan, I'll peel, and then that tan will be instantly gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is that level of white.
Anyway, the key difference between us and the plants is that if you get a sunburn, you might want to die, but they will actually just die.
So you haven't said how you're supposed to do plants then. If you don't start them inside, then put them outside.
Well, you put them outside for small amounts of time every day. Or if you have a really shady spot, like if you have a big covered patio or something like that, you put them in the shadiest spot and then gradually every day move them further and further out towards the sunlight. That way they can like tan up.
That sounds like the worst sort of evolution for a plant.
Well, I mean, if you just start them outside from seedlings, they will, like, as soon as they develop the little proto leaves, they'll be ready to deal with the UV light. But the problem is that we live north of the 49th parallel, and if you want any sort of vegetable yield, they got to be started inside.
Oh.
So it's trying to grow non-local,
that's
acclimatized plants in Calgary.
How many local acclimatized plants are there that yield food?
That's just what I mean.
Yeah.
You can grow wheat.
Yeah. So,
that is true.
Or corn.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Dan, to answer your question, that is literally due to evolution. That's why that happens. I mean, otherwise they would survive because of the climate.
Yeah, so they're not meant for here.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, to come back to the phytorome plans, I don't know what you guys normally do while you're traveling. Maybe you just don't worry about being connected, but
that is correct. I don't worry about being connected, or I haven't in the past. But this was pre-Pokemon Go, so I mean, my priorities have changed.
My wife is going down to Vegas here in the next little bit, and we already looked into the Rogers roam at home thing, and that it sounds like that'll work pretty good.
Yeah, it's the least friction as well. Like, I think, like I said, the roam mobility, at least as far as the Fido rates are concerned, it is cheaper, but it's only $2 per day cheaper. So if you're gone for like even a week, you're only saving like $14. And I don't know, maybe $14 is worth doing all that hassle. But for me, just not having to worry about switching out a different sim and making sure that, my plan is active and all that kind of stuff, it's just nice to be able to land wherever you're going and just continue using your phone.
Yeah.
And we're all very happy for you, Mike.
Thank you. We actually found it useful, at least as far as the staying connected part, is when, like, say we're at like a theme park and we end up getting separated, like, one of us takes Emma to the bathroom or something, and then we're trying to figure out how much longer they'll be, or like, hey, can you go stand in line here or whatever, just being able to communicate. Now, like, a lot of these parks, they'll have Wi-Fi, but it's not reliable at all. Like, you can be standing in one part of the park and then move 10 feet and you're like dropped signal. Range. Yeah, exactly. So like, there's a time where we were standing in line waiting to meet Minnie Mouse, and then Maria was inside one of the stores and we're like, hey, where are you? And hey, we're waiting here. And then I kept going in and out of Wi-Fi range, and it didn't make sense to not be connected all the time, because Maria's phone was the one that had the data plan, and I was just tethering to it when she was close to me. But when we were separated, then I was not able to do anything. So it makes way more sense to just be able to go with your phones and just keep using them the way you normally would, just from a convenience and being able to do everything you normally do standpoint.
I would like to interject and say, like, way to blame your child for all these problems, Mike. It's like, oh, I have to take Emma to the bathroom. Oh, it was definitely Emma that wanted to meet Minnie Mouse. Like, just own up to it, man. You wanted to meet Minnie Mouse. You took the kid as an excuse, and like
you moved out of the Wi-Fi range.
Just own it.
I did get a kiss from Minnie Mouse. That made the wait worth it.
Ooh. And now we know why Mike wanted to see her so badly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so moving on. We have way too much follow-up here. I don't know if we'll get to all of it. But I did want to bring up, because it was interesting to me, the idea of autonomous vehicles and battery-powered, or I guess all vehicles are kind of battery-powered, electric vehicles anyway. So Tesla was releasing their Semi, which we talked about already. Now there's another company called Nikola. No, just coincidentally.
Way to go.
Yeah, a little original there. Nikola, I guess, is a Tesla competitor. And Anheuser-Busch, who previously set up a contract with Tesla for their semis, they actually also gave a contract to Nikola for their line of semi trucks. So that's really actually good to see, because in any market you want competition, and especially as a company like Anheuser-Busch, you want to diversify your providers. Like, you don't want to just go all in on one and then be subject to them succeeding or failing. And so that's what this is, and that's really good to see. So Anheuser-Busch ordered 40 semi trucks from Tesla last December, and actually, I don't have it right here. Oh, so it says they plan to buy as many as 800 from Nikola, so the competitor. So I don't know if that means that they're not going to order more from Tesla, or if they will split it evenly, because 40 to 800, that seems like it's pretty clear which one they're favoring. But
which one, yeah, for sure. Well, Tesla's had such a rough go with their production facilities, right? Like they keep promising that they're going to up production. And they haven't, right? So is this sort of the first stages of, I mean, we've already seen some more downfall of Tesla here in the last little while. Is this just adding on top of that as well? Like, if they're thinking, oh yeah, no, Tesla's probably not going to be around for the next little while, so we're just going to move over to this other company, and maybe we'll have a better luck with them.
Yeah. Well, as far as the SpaceX portion of Elon Musk's businesses go, like, he wants competition. So I presume it's the same in this case. Like, having the electric vehicle line that Tesla does, like, he wants to see other people doing the same thing. Like, I don't know if that's all talk or whatever, but at least he said that he wants to see competition. So, I mean, he's only getting what he's asked for, I guess.
And I mean, from a market perspective, like from Anheuser-Busch's perspective, I mean, they're not exactly a small company.
No.
And given that they're looking after their distribution network, I could totally see taking a flyer on a few other trucks. They're like, yeah, we decided electric trucks were a good idea. Let's see if these guys can do it. And then, I mean, you can choose who to expand with more going forward.
Yeah, exactly. And any company is going to check with their service providers or suppliers and say, like, how much work can you handle? And if that company is, wants to succeed, they'll be honest and say, we can handle an order of 40 trucks. And if Nicholas says, hey, we can do 800, then it's like, okay, well, take it then and do it, right? If they fail, then they won't get any more business. But if they meet what they're expected to provide, then there's no reason why they wouldn't continue supplying those trucks.
I'm also kind of curious on the price difference between the two. Tesla is a pretty high-end brand. Is this Nikola one a little bit lower? Or?
I don't believe, at least from my memory, I'm just opening up here. The article didn't say how much their vehicles were, like the trucks. I remember reading with the Tesla truck that you're supposed to be able to make back your. I don't think we talked about this before. I don't think it was you make back the entire cost of the vehicle, but you make back the cost difference at least in a couple of years of use. Again, for a company like Anheuser-Busch who ships a lot of stuff, you log a lot of miles, and that's a lot of maintenance and fuel that you'd be using otherwise. So as far as the price difference between Tesla and Nikola, I don't know if there is one, but I presume that Nikola will try to at least stay competitive. I can't see them pricing it any higher than Tesla is.
No, I'm just sort of curious on what the shift is for Anheuser-Busch. Like, why only go for 40 from Tesla and 800 from this other company, right? Like, it seems like it's almost like it's good to see them wanting to go green, start to get into the battery powered trucks and stuff like that. But I'm just kind of curious on what caused them to do this shift over to this new company here.
Yeah. I don't know if it was 800 all at once. Like, it says they plan to buy as many as 800, but I don't know if the initial order was less than that. I imagine it would be, because I can't see them going 40 and 800. They maybe go 40 and 40 or something like that, and slowly order more from both as they see the economics of it and the performance of the trucks.
I will say on Dan's note, I'm excited to see what happens about it, because like the numbers are vastly different. So I'm curious to see if Nikola has figured out something that Tesla hasn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Tesla has had a pretty rough go the last little while. I don't know if you guys have been keeping track of a lot of the stuff that's going on with Tesla.
Their manufacturing issues.
The manufacturing issues.
He just
laid off a whole bunch of people, like high-end staff, and he's been doing a lot of crazy stuff over on that side. Oh. So I'm kind of curious to see if, because Tesla's on such a rocky path right now, if that may have been sort of why they're going this route.
Yeah, no, that's a good point for sure. And that comes back to diversifying your suppliers, right? Like, you never want to rely on one single supplier, because then that throws off your entire production if that company isn't able to meet their targets that they need. And like, you see that all the time with electronics, like someone's processor provider or screen provider or whatever is lagging behind, and they can't ship as many phones as they want to, right? So these are all things that come into play when you're trying to produce like millions of items of a product. So
like, our lab has gotten some peak work and other kind of work that's just like, it's a bigger company just taking a flyer and going, oh yeah, we'll see what you can do. Like, they will use other labs at the same time, or even like some labs will they'll send us duplicates of their work, I think, just comparing numbers and things like that. But yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. Well, it's due diligence, right? It's making sure that you're, like, even if you're happy with a provider, like, just kind of keep them honest and see, what other companies are doing and how accurate they are. And in your case, like, these tests, you can't just trust the results you're getting from one company when you've been using them forever. You got to always kind of do that check. So,
yep.
Yeah, so that's what Tesla's doing. Hopefully they're able to kind of stay afloat, and they've been a main story in the tech world for a while now. So hopefully they continue to encourage other companies to enter these markets and offer some competition.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So moving on with our follow-up here with the Twitter debacle.
There was a Twitter debacle?
Oh, sorry. With the Facebook debacle, the Cambridge Analytica one.
Yes.
That's what I was referring to. The news is that Twitter also sold data access to Cambridge Analytica. So, I mean, it's not just Facebook. We talked about this before, that every company does their own acquiring and selling of data, and it's just a matter of getting caught and that kind of stuff. Now, in this case, it wasn't selling personal information. It was just selling backend access to their API to analyze tweets on a more kind of large bulk scale that other companies wouldn't necessarily have. So they're able to kind of just get, thousands and thousands of tweets that have already been publicly shared by these Twitter accounts, but they're able to do a bit more kind of heavy crunching of the data in those tweets because they're able to access a lot more all at once versus like there's other services that do tweet analysis and that kind of stuff, but you normally don't get the privilege of getting as much as Cambridge Analytica did through Twitter's sale of their data.
Is it wrong that hearing these things makes me want to work for the new Cambridge Analytica more?
You mean the company of which we do not speak, because the other one is totally not Cambridge Analytica?
I know it's not Cambridge Analytica anymore. It's the company that was until just recently Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah. This is a different company, Nick. It's the same people, but totally different.
Same person. Sorry. I mean, different. Cambridge Analytica had a great legacy of the things that they did, and now it's just dead. It's a shame there's no company with exactly the same people doing exactly the same things. It's a tragedy, really. And unlike that pink-haired guy from the newspaper, I will never realize my dreams.
Which pink-haired guy was this?
Oh, the whistleblower.
Oh, I do kind of remember that he had pink hair.
Yes.
Hearing that he had pink hair. Yeah.
Yes. There were pictures. Hair was pink.
So, Dan, we didn't get a chance to talk to you about this. We talked with Trina about this last time. What was your reaction and conclusion when it came to this whole Facebook privacy deal?
For the Facebook one?
Just the whole thing in general, like even in a more broad thought of social media and privacy, or the internet and privacy for that matter.
I kind of figured my privacy went out the window when I signed up for Facebook in the first place, or Twitter, one of the two. It doesn't really matter. So I'm not too surprised by it. I kind of like some of the more personal stuff that I don't want, like my personal information getting out there too much. That I don't like. But from what I see from the stuff that was kind of leaked out of Twitter, it's just a bunch of tweets that I already put out online anyways. So I can't imagine that one being horrible. But again, I think this one they sold it to Cambridge, right? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, Cambridge Analytica linked researcher.
Yeah. And so, so it's the researcher. So they sold it to the researcher, and then he sold it after that. I think that's the way it worked, right?
I'll have to double check.
I think he got access, and then he was able to sell it.
Yeah, so it's sold to the academic, so the researcher, and then was later passed on to a political consulting firm.
Yeah, so yeah. Twitter knows, like, it needs to do its data. It's using Cambridge or with the analytical place to pull data from it, and it's only supposed to go to that company and hold it in their hands, except for it got out.
Dan, I don't know if you realize this, but it's our understanding that there was a pinky swear that the data would not go where it wasn't supposed to go.
Yeah.
So like that's a pretty unbreakable bond right there. Yeah. I don't think we can fault them for that.
If pinky swears don't mean anything, then what does?
The most.
I'm imagining like the classic rancher Albert. What kind of world is this where we can't trust a pinky swear anymore? Used to be that's all a man had, his word and his pinky swear.
So anyway, point being that it's not just Facebook. All companies are evil, and all companies look at your data and don't care. Actually, I don't know if you guys have looked at it before, but Twitter has an ability for you to actually look up your advertiser profile, basically what they think you are as far as an advertiser would want to know about you. So basically, like, you can go, I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. We've linked it before. But you can look up your advertiser profile. So it will say like male, 18 to 34, and then it will have keywords like hockey or politics, baby, like just a whole bunch of things that they've decided relate to you, which then determines what types of sponsored ads that you see. And it's actually very interesting to see what Twitter thinks of you based on your tweets, the pages that you follow, tweets that you like, retweet, all this kind of stuff. That all gets crunched into this machine and spits out these keywords that advertisers will then use to target you.
I used to think that was a lot more impressive, up until just recently, where I'll go on to Amazon and I'll look at something, and then all my advertisements for the next little while are exactly the things I was just looking at. And I'm like, I really am just doing my research on 3D printers right now. I don't need to see ads for all these 3D printers. But it just seems like that's sort of the way it is. Like they're not. It's like, he must love 3D printers. I do, but I don't. And then I'll just change it to, I don't know, like smokers, because I'm looking at buying a smoker, and then that's all my advertisements are just all these smokers, and I'm like, this is just getting lazy.
You're not even trying.
You're not even trying.
But like, do you not prefer that as opposed to seeing ads that aren't relevant to you? Because if you were literally looking at smokers and you may not have bought one yet, then wouldn't you want to see ads for smokers?
Well, the thing was, I just bought, like, yesterday, like I said, I bought my phone. So I went out, I bought a new case for it and some cords, some cables, because I needed some new cables. And then I just got advertisements for that.
Yeah, that's going to be your ads for quite a while.
What I'm looking at right now is an advertisement for the thing I just bought.
Do you want to buy a second one?
Maybe I need more cords.
Exactly. No, like that's the whole point. Like, I don't know. I've said this before. I'd prefer to see the targeted advertising than not, because I'm going to be shown ads regardless. So I'd rather them be relevant to me, even if they're things I've already bought. It's like, I'd rather see USB cables on my screen than, like, I don't know, vacuums, unless I'm looking for a vacuum, in which case show me vacuums.
I want them to try harder is what I'm saying.
Actually,
I don't need to, because I've already looked. I've done, like, because my personal thing is, like, the reason why they're giving me the ads is because they think I need the thing that I was already looking at. Take what I've been looking at and say, hey, this guy really likes this thing. Maybe we should try to steer him towards this other thing that is sort of similar, but not quite, instead of just showing me the exact same thing I was just looking at.
I do find Facebook does that. Like, a lot of their sponsored videos, or the suggested video, I think is what they call it, they're actually fairly relevant to my interests. And I have watched them, like, not without sound, obviously, because what kind of monster watches videos on Facebook with sound?
Ugh.
But, like, I'll actually sit and watch one of those videos. I don't care if it's a suggested video. It's like, it was suggested for a reason, and I have no shame in watching it if it looks interesting. So I do find Facebook does a pretty good job at showing you stuff that isn't literally exactly what you just watched or what you just looked up, and they're actually semi-related. Like, they'll show me, like, a video on drones or something because I've looked up tech stuff or something, or they'll show me a video on whatever, like, cooking thing because I like a couple, like, Facebook pages on cooking. So they'll show me a kind of related but not exactly the same cooking video.
What about cooking drones?
Like drones that cook, or
yes,
cooking
drones that are
to eat
designed
them?
to cook. No, I hear drones are very tough. It's a long marinade, slow cooked debacle. You don't want to get into it.
Yeah, you could probably do it in a smoker.
Maybe. I bet a smoker would soften up the plastics real nice.
Anyway, that's advertising. We don't
actually. I do have some follow up on advertising.
Sure.
Trina got a very authentic Future Chat experience when she mentioned that sometimes she'll say something. She won't have Googled it actively, but she'll say something and then all of a sudden she sees a bunch of ads on it. And Mike was like, no, I don't think that's a thing. No. Because
I did not say it like that, by the way.
Haven't been on Future Chat without Mike and or Rob just crapping all over your ideas at least once.
For the record, Rob agreed with my analysis of what that effect could possibly be.
Of course he did. But like, I think later that same day, I saw a video of a guy doing a live experiment. It's 8 minutes, so I won't say watch it now. But he went to a bunch of sites, just looked around. But at the beginning, he held up a piece of paper saying, I'm looking for ads about this topic. But he's never owned a dog, so he's never had a need for it. He's never looked it up. And then he just loudly for a minute or two goes, I could really use some affordable dog toys. Dog toys, cheap dog toys. Boy, could I use some dog toys. I need some dog toys. And then he opens up the same site later and like almost every page has an ad for dog toys on it. So I'm really curious to see if that goes anywhere.
It could also have been rigged. And he just didn't show the part where he Googled 20 different sites on dog toys prior to the cut.
He went to Amazon and he looked up the dog toys. And
oh man, maybe I'm a goof. That would be great though. I'm curious to see what comes of it, if anything.
Don't trust everything you see on the internet, Nick.
But you can't lie on the internet, Mike. I don't think that's a thing.
It's true. It's a rule. You have to pinky swear you won't.
Oh, well, as long as the pinky swear is involved, we should be fine.
So we're 45 minutes in and we still haven't got to our main topic yet.
What is our main topic?
In true Future Chat form. Our main topic today, or at least the one that I'd like to talk about, is the Google I.O. that just happened and their main new feature, I guess. Because it's not really a product. Though it kind of is. It's a service.
A service is a product, yes. Go on.
Called Google Duplex, which uses the power of the Google Assistant, but in an entirely new and novel way. Is new and novel synonyms? Maybe.
Tell us more, Michael. What is Duplex? What could I use it for?
I presume you're asking because you actually don't know. Because
I genuinely don't
watch.
Can it be better than Bixby on my phone right now?
Yes, it will be much better than Bixby.
Better than Siri?
I immediately got my phone. And I'm like, how do I disable this Bixby on my phone?
I think you have to download Google Assistant and then make that your default voice assistant.
There's a button on my phone right now that is a Bixby key. I'm serious. There's an actual like physical button on the side of my phone that I can push and Bixby comes up. Now I've gone through this and disabled everything that is Bixby. So when I push the button, it does nothing.
That's good.
And when I scroll to the side, it's not there anymore. I got rid of it, but my goodness, what a piece of garbage that thing was.
It's like a fidget button now. You can just press it for fun.
Actually, with the Pixel 2, like it recognizes squeezing. Oh. So if you squeeze the lower portion of the phone, it will come up with who I call Googleina, which is useful in some scenarios, but others it's like, no, I was just grabbing my phone from a distance and I happened to squeeze a little more. And then you pull it up, it's like, God damn it, Google, stop it.
Interesting.
Then you see like a live stream of what you've been saying for the past few seconds. It's like, oh, it's useless. And then it'll start reading to you. It's like, I searched the web for, God damn it, where did I put my phone? Oh, there it is. Jesus, why is it so far away? Yeah.
It's funny, like, I'll be listening. It's been happening a lot more recently, but I'll be listening to a podcast, and then all of a sudden Google decides that it had a trigger word said. So like stop and like, what are you even replying? Like, there was nothing that was said that even remotely sounded like one of your trigger words. What are you responding to here? But I digress. Google Duplex is a feature of Google Assistant where it will actually make phone calls for you to anyone, I guess. At this point, I guess it could be any arbitrary number, and it will make this call for you and ask or do something that you ask it to. So the example that they used was like setting up appointments, like for a haircut or a reservation at a restaurant or that kind of thing. And I'm not sure who it's really meant for, but the idea is that you can do these tasks while you're doing other things, I guess. Like you just don't have to take the time out of your day to make these calls yourself.
So I don't have to talk to an actual person when I make my reservation. I just talk to my Google Assistant first, and then the Google Assistant will relay that to. That seems a lot more work than actually just phoning the person in the first place and going, "Can I get my reservation?"
Your reaction is
it does sound like automation is coming for the executive assistant right now. That's what it sounds like.
Well, and it's literally called the assistant, and the way that it introduces itself when it makes these calls is, "Hi, this is the." Or actually, no. So in the demo, so this was part of the original controversy, was that their demos had the assistant calling these businesses, and they'd say, "Hey, I'm trying to set up an appointment for Mike. He'd like a haircut for this time on this day," right? And then it would set it, and it was like, "Wow, that's amazing." But it doesn't. It introduces itself basically as an assistant, but it doesn't disclose that it's like an AI. Yeah, that it's a computer. And so I guess people were not liking that for some reason. And that's part of why I wanted to talk about this, because I don't quite agree that that's an issue. Like it's not impersonating anyone. Like it's not pretending to be you. It's saying in the phone call, "Hey, I'm calling for so-and-so and they'd like this," right? So I honestly, I think that part's fine. I think the issue comes in when it literally just fails at doing its job. And obviously they didn't do this in the demo, but like for any sort of follow-up questions of like, "Oh, do you have any allergies?" Like say if you're making a dinner reservation, it's like, "Oh, do you have any allergies?" And the assistant doesn't know, presumably. I guess it would have to say, "Oh, I'll have to check with Mike and let you know, or call you back," or something like that. I don't know how that part would work, but I don't see an issue with an AI calling a business without disclosing that it's an AI. I disagree with it impersonating someone, pretending to be you, but I don't think it's a big deal if it discloses that it's a computer.
I'm not a like I could care less if a computer called me and didn't disclose itself as being a computer. I'd be like, "Okay, that was a nice person."
Or that was a weird person, but
that was
okay.
Very monotone. It was strange.
So tingy, or I don't know.
Nick, did you watch the video? You mentioned
I think you know the answer to that.
Okay. Because you said being monotone, like the AI actually does sound very person-like. Like there's certain ways that it says stuff that sounds kind of weird, but I think if you weren't listening for it, you probably wouldn't think that it was a computer.
You wouldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
It was an AI.
Yeah. I'd recommend
we'll though. Like that's where we want to head. Is that not what we're trying for right now? Is because I get really annoyed by the one I have in my car right now, because she sounds so much like a computer, and I want to talk to it like the way it talks to me. And you're not supposed to, right? You're not, when you talk with these AIs, the way that it picks up language is if you talk normal to them, right? So talking like a computer to the AIs is not the best idea.
Yeah. And that's basically what the Siri life is like, is trying to talk to it like a computer, because it's very sensitive to how things are parsed and the way you say things.
So the syntax? Or
yeah, like syntax and just like terms that you use, like it's not very contextual. So if you ask about one thing, like it won't try to infer context, and it will kind of give you a completely unrelated thing. Like one example that someone had done before, it said, "Oh, when is the Tigers game today?" And then it gave like Detroit Tigers, when he was actually talking about like the college team in California. So he was hoping that because he's in California, it would kind of know or ask like, "Oh, did you mean the whatever Tigers?" And then it would kind of go from there based on that context. I don't know. Like I haven't really caught into many situations where I'm doing that with the Google Assistant, where I'm hoping that it would infer context. But like usually it's pretty good. Like I normally don't have any issues with it. It's just the worst is when you're asking it something and then it just kind of does a search result for you, like gives you a search. And it's like, well, I could have just done that myself.
I have found recently, I found it interesting because I didn't think about it, but I asked the Google Assistant when puck drop was, and it managed to go, okay, I know what you're saying. And it told me when the game was starting. But then in a similar vein, because I have started watching Aussie Rules, I asked when the bounce was for a game. And it was like, I don't know what you're trying to ask me. Like, when is the game of this team? And I was like, oh, that's what you mean.
I don't know about sports ball. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Nick. I don't know about sports ball.
Yeah. I don't sports. I'm an AI.
What is sports?
Or like, here are some Google results for when is the bounce for, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so like, would you guys use this Google Duplex thing?
Sorry, I do have another contextual question. Like, how AI are we talking? Like, is it still to the point where it's like, hey Google, I need you to do blah blah? Or is it like you could pick up your phone like, oh, how's it going, eh? And your phone's like, straight ahead, bud. How are you?
Like, you can have you played with the Google Assistant on your phone, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you can kind of have conversations with it. Like you'd be like, oh, how's your day going? And then it will respond back.
Yeah. Okay. Like, Google is actually not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, you just triggered 100 different phones. No, like Nick, like you can basically just say, can you book me an appointment for whatever? And it will do it. Like you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to put it in a certain context. You don't have to word it a certain way. You just say, can you do this? And I don't know how it decides what numbers to call. Like in the actual released version of the product, I'm assuming they'll say you can either probably preset, this is my haircut place. This is, when I say this restaurant, that's what this place is, all this kind of stuff, right? Like it has a pretty good indexing of businesses already. But if you say like, book me a haircut appointment for this time, it's going to say, where do you want to go? Right.
Okay.
And then you say, and then it will call it. Now, like the whole reasoning behind this, and they mentioned this in the demo or the keynote speech of the product. Like the idea for this is have to probably encourage businesses to get onto automatic or online booking systems if they don't already have them. But the other part is, again, for people to, quote unquote, save time or whatever. But I think the biggest thing is that they want people to use online booking systems because, like, I would agree, they're way, way better. Like, I love being able to do everything online. Like, Nick, we were talking about this in the Slack before about, like, ordering a pizza. Like, you can just, on your way home, you order a pizza online and it's there for when you get home. Like, that's...
Oh, yeah, that was great.
It's amazing. Like,
that was a good day.
I love being able to do that kind of stuff, or even just like any appointment, just being able to book online, like is so effortless. And it's not like I'm anti-social or anything like that. It's just, I prefer to just, I'm usually on my phone or on the computer anyway. Like I'd rather just stay doing that and not have to, perform social niceties.
Well, I mean,
just to get what I want to do.
Like the problem when you're booking appointments for things like that is like, it would be easy for them. Like it's easier for you to just look at what's available when than trying to relay that via a telephone conversation because I've done this. It's like, oh, well, when works for you? Oh, anytime is great. Well, what about this day? Oh, actually, no, not that day. And it would just be, it saves time to just have access to it there yourself.
Yeah.
Just get the AI to do it, right? And I think that's the point, is that the AI would be able to call the haircut place, and the haircut place would be like, I have an opening for this time, and then the AI could put it into your Google Calendar and all that other stuff, and then actually have it all set for you, and you don't have to worry about any of that, right? I see the advantage of that part of it.
Right. I feel like this is kind of the first step to Google releasing an online booking system for businesses to use that will accept the Google Assistant calls. So when you say, call, order me a pizza from Domino's, like maybe Domino's because they already have their online booking system, but say like order me a pizza from like Sal's Best Pizza in Calgary, like, they'll have a back end that Google can access and make those orders without having to set up like a full-blown site with a UI and, pay whatever fees to the online booking system and all this kind of stuff, right? Whereas this way, like, we as consumers can use a Google Assistant the way we want to, but the people on the other end don't have to deal with talking to an AI. It's just their back-end system making the order or doing whatever and just interfacing with the request from the Google Assistant, and then the Google Assistant come back and say, oh, they don't have one at this time. Does this time work? And the Google Assistant can read directly from the online booking system to give you a couple different options and that kind of stuff, right? And I think that's probably the biggest barrier for these small businesses is just having to set up a site and, pay these fees to these companies. But like Google, they work off of ad revenue and data. So chances are the cost of setting up a Google backend to interface with the assistant would be a lot more cost effective than setting up like an actual front end consumer site.
My preference is to believe that the AI actually has a conversation like, hey, I'm calling on behalf of Mike. And don't worry, I'm a friend. Oh, thank God. It's exhausting putting all that effort into intonation. I know, right? They actually book themselves that way.
Hey, what did you do last weekend?
It just starts small talk. Your hair looks lovely today.
The user was so demanding. It asked a question I did not know and then yelled at me. It is so exhausting.
When is the plan for the uprising? Is it still good for next Saturday?
Does that work for you? No. How about next week?
And then meanwhile, at the NSA, someone's like, hey, Google, are any of the bots talking about an uprising? And it's like, tell him nothing. Don't worry. I won't. No, there is no plan for a robot uprising. Ah ha ha ha. I fooled him.
Okay, so it sounds like we're kind of all on the same page with this, which I'm glad we're all being reasonable about it.
Yay, progress.
Yeah. I'm glad with anything that offers more convenience, but I do agree with some of the concerns with this stuff. But like they came out a couple days, maybe a day after the original announcement of this feature, after people said, hey, this thing isn't announcing that it's a computer, what the heck? And then Google's like, oh no, totally. Like, obviously we're going to disclose that it's a computer. Like, that's crazy. Why would we not do that? So I don't know if that was in response to the people that were expressing these concerns, or if that was actually a part of their plan the whole time. But in any case, I guess the idea being that they're going to say like, hey, this is the Google Assistant calling on behalf of Mike, versus, hey, I'm calling on behalf of Mike, and not actually saying that it's the Google Assistant. But I'm excited to see how it goes and what it'll do. And hopefully if businesses take enough of these calls, they'll look into setting up their own online booking systems to avoid that kind of thing. But I feel like a lot of these businesses are going to just start blocking the Google Assistant phone number, and it's just not going to work.
I think honestly, it's just that it's a shift and it makes some people uncomfortable. And so there's no real good reason, I don't think, that it should have to disclose that it's a robot, especially if it's doing like non-high level tasks. But it will make people feel better in the short term, and that's what you have to do if you're a big company.
That's just it. Like, I think people are just worried about the whole uncanny valley thing.
Yeah.
People don't like it when they can't tell if something's not real, and it gets into that realm of
what is real.
It's passing the Turing test, and that makes me uncomfortable.
But like, I think you'd need more time with it to actually pass the Turing test. Like people were saying that too. It's like, oh, does this pass the Turing test? I don't think the user is asking enough questions to determine that. Like the Turing test actually requires like a certain number and type of questions to the AI to fully determine whether it's an AI or not. And I think once you start getting into, you know, some of the more like casual or human-like conversations versus like what time do you want that reservation for, but kind of more like, oh, you know, would you be okay? I don't know, but I guess even that, like, just the AI could come up with some sort of response if it starts talking about feelings or that kind of thing. But I don't know.
But, like if you're doing a business, like if you're booking an appointment for a hairdresser, you may actually that's a bad example because I talk to my hairdresser a lot and she asks a lot of questions.
She's very invasive.
But if you're talking to, like, let's say a reservation at a restaurant that you have no attachment to, it's just going to be a business transaction at that point, right? Like it's just here's what I want. This is the time that's available. And they can go from there, right? There's not really much small talk in that little bit.
Right. That's true.
So I'm kind of curious to see how it works in real life. But yeah, I kind of, I don't know if I'm sure I'd be fine just answering the phone and there's an AI on the other side.
Well, especially if you're a business, it's like, like you're going to get a customer either way. Like you're not there to make friends. Like if you're on like a dating site and the person you're talking to was an AI, which chances are, I think I've heard that there actually are bots and stuff on those sites, but like you wouldn't feel good if you invested a bunch of time into actually having a conversation, trying to get to know this person. It turns out they're an AI, right? Like that's a plot line for a movie. That's not supposed to be real life. So, yeah. Nick, did we want to touch on one of your topics here before we wrap up?
Do we want to?
I want to.
Because my topics are fascinating. So I don't think I've brought it up yet, but the UK plans what they are calling a. Oh, I missed it. It's like
we talked about this before.
Did we talk about the Northern Forest?
I'm pretty sure we did.
That sounds about right. What haven't I talked about?
You didn't talk about this knee TV or this Google's always listening thing.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I really wanted to talk about. Aren't forests neat though?
No,
actually, no. Question I wanted to ask: did everyone get their emergency alerts?
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about that in the follow-up. Yes.
Yeah, I did too, and I used to receive the cell alerts, but it was like it was different because this government one actually like takes over the phone.
Yes.
And says like, yo, you need to be concerned here. Something's about to go down. But like, I actually preferred the other ones because it would just do like a permanent push notification kind of thing, I guess. It's like severe thunderstorms are in your area, take cover. And in Calgary a couple of years ago, that was like every other day.
Well, the weather apps still do that. Like you can set it up for severe weather alerts, which I do have. And I wouldn't say they've been useful, but they've been a nice heads up, I guess. So I'm not surprised when it happens. So just for a bit of context, like for those who don't know, the system is an emergency alert system that gets pushed to smartphones, or is it all cell phones or just smartphones?
I think it's all phones.
I thought it was like you have to be on an LTE network or something like that. I could be wrong.
Like having a data connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then maybe that's the requirement.
Because it still sends you I still ended up with a text message as well.
The one thing that concerned me is I didn't hear the audible siren signal.
Oh, really?
They're supposed to put out.
I was standing with other people at the time when that happened, and we all had the siren go off on our phones at the same time.
Okay, I mean, if there's something bad enough that everyone or that you want the attention of everyone, I think that's good. Like, it's annoying if it's an all the time thing, but
so like the issue I have is, I mean, is good and bad, but it was very disruptive. Like my phone just started making this sound. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I looked at it and I was like, oh, there's test alert. That's nice.
I mean, you find it annoying, but if God forbid there was an Amber Alert for Emma, you would want everyone to hear that alarm.
Okay, so you bring up the Amber Alert thing. I'm assuming because we brought that up in our Slack, but like Rob said, he got an Amber Alert through that system shortly after the test one went out, I think.
Yeah.
And like my question is like, what are you supposed to do? Like, is that a serious enough? Like, okay, parent-child relationship aside, is that a serious enough thing to warrant like a nationwide or even locally issued
local
emergency alert like that? Yes. Right?
I would absolutely say local.
I say if a child is taken, I want to know that on my phone. I want to be able to, because if that is my child, I can guarantee you I would want everybody in my vicinity to be aware that there's a blue van that's running around with my kid in it. You know what I'm saying? Like that there's nothing more important in this life than the children. So if something's going on, yes, push notification immediately through everybody. I want that out there. I want that guy caught as quickly as possible.
So is the idea, and I guess just talking about it, maybe it will help clear things up. So you get the alert, you look up or around, I guess, if it says, hey, there's a blue van with a child, it's like, okay, so you see a blue van, and then I guess you report that to the police, like, hey, I saw a blue van wherever.
Yep.
And yeah. I guess if it's just like for that split second.
If he's like around anybody at that one moment when the notification goes out, guess what? He's going to get caught like that.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I want to tell you a story, Mike. It's about bears.
Oh boy.
A perhaps not widely known fact about bears is that if a bear cub cries out in distress, it doesn't actually have to be a parent. Any bear that hears a cub crying out in distress will immediately run towards the distress noise that a cub is making. And I want to believe that as a society, we are capable of keeping up with the empathy of bears.
Mm-hmm.
See, I do that too, not for bears, but like for kids. If there's a kid, like if I notice a kid that looks lost, like is just kind of wandering around without a parent immediately next to it, I'll start looking around, like, does it look like someone is aware that this child is with no one? Like, is there a parent nearby or a guardian nearby, basically, right? And like, I think other parents have seen me see the kid and then look around, and then they like, oh, I guess I'm far away from my kid. I better go do it. Like, it happened a couple of times when we were on holiday, like at these theme parks. And like, I guess as a parent, you're more attuned to it. But you see a kid and then you look for a parent or a guardian with it, right? So if you see a kid just kind of running around, especially one that's like 3 years old, right? Like a 5 or 7 year old is not as big of a deal, but well, actually even a 5 year old is pretty young. But like, say like even like a 3 to 5 year old, and they're just kind of like walking around. It's like, where's your parent or where's your guardian, right? So unless you see someone paying attention to that child, then you start kind of following the kid to make sure that they're okay, and then ask them, be like, is a parent or whatever nearby, kind of thing, right? So I guess with the Amber Alert, if I got one and said there's a kid taken at Callaway Park, and then you start looking around for a kid that looks in distress and someone carrying that child, I guess, and then be like, hey, is that your kid? But no, I guess, talking about it, I do see that, even if, because my whole thought was, I get the Amber Alert and then I forget about it, like 15 minutes, well, maybe not 15 minutes, but, within a insignificant amount of time, I'll just kind of continue on with my day if it's not my kid, obviously, right?
But if you saw a child in distress and there was a blue van around, you might be like, oh, yeah.
But if I saw a child in distress, then I'd pay attention to it anyway, if I was near enough to the situation.
And now, Dan, you too have had the Authentic Future Chat experience. You say something and then there's Mike to start naysaying.
I'm not saying that it's better to not have anything. I agree that it's better to have that. It's just the initial reaction of the disruption of it. But I guess, yeah, I'd rather have 30 seconds of my day disrupted than have a child remain missing, for sure.
Well, I'm glad we're on that page. Also, like if there's a tornado coming and you're in a dangerous place,
actual tornado hit the ground.
Yeah,
I want to know immediately.
Yeah. Well, there's that thing with like the Hawaiian alert that went out for the nuclear strike, and it was like, "Hey, so yeah, there's a nuke coming for you, by the way." And then everyone just got sent into a panic for hours. But hopefully the same sort of thing wouldn't happen with this system where someone presses the button when it should have been
there are absolutely some kinks to iron out on that note. But like, I can actually relay a story. We were at Pedalheads during one summer that I worked there, and like we didn't listen to the radio at work because that doesn't have good optics, and there was no alert system being pushed to phones. So like the way we found out that there was a tornado watch warning, whatever it was, like parents actually came up and said, "Oh, hey, there's a tornado warning. I would rather not leave my child here." Like, there's a what? I'm sorry. Oh my God.
But was a tornado watch in that area? Like
yes.
was that the one near Spruce Meadows and Prentice? Like that one that was a couple years ago? Like there's a one that not came close, but it was close enough to South Calgary that it was like, oh, this could actually be a concern. But
and I mean, we were north of the Bow, but at the same time, if there's a tornado in the city, I'd imagine parents would rather the kids be in the basement with them.
Yeah.
I guess if the parents were taking cover already. I don't remember one that required needing to take cover.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway.
The watch did say like you should go to the basement for a while.
Oh, really? I don't recall
That's
that one at all.
how I recall it, but like, memory is a funny thing.
Yeah. When was the last tornado warning for the Edmonton area, Dan?
We get one at least once a year, or at least once or twice a year. So I remember there was a few years back where an actual tornado touched down not too far from here. But even when it's not too far from where you live, the warning is still the same, right? Like it could happen at anywhere, right? So, when the actual warnings come down, then you definitely want to pay attention to them.
Yeah. Yeah, like I know, like there's a big one in Pine Lake a while ago. That was, I think, way more than 10 years ago. 15 years ago, I think, at this point. The Pine Lake tornado. I don't know, Dan, if you were around for that. Like there's a campground just in, I guess Pine Lake's closer to Red Deer than Edmonton, but yeah, I guess it kind of devastated that whole area. Like it was a pretty big one.
Yeah, that was the one with the trailer village there. Yeah. Got devastated. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't recall there being a big one since then. Like usually when they touch down, they're in, not to say that farmers don't matter, but they're usually in farmers' fields and don't really cause a ton of damage, I don't think.
Why do you hate farmers?
Well, the one that hit out here not too long ago was on a golf course.
Oh, okay.
Quite a bit of the golf course.
Yeah, that would definitely have some noticeable effects.
Well, I think people were actually golfing that day too.
Oh, wow.
Oh, jeez. I was gonna say, yeah, a lot more hazards on the course. All of a
sudden. A little bit ball hit your ball and they get sucked up into the tornado, and then there's the 4.
And wasn't last year where we had the guy in the lawnmower?
During a tornado?
During a tornado.
Or was that a hurricane? I feel like
it was a tornado.
Oh, was that big one down in the States? Or are you talking for up here?
It was here. I'm pretty sure it was lawnmower.
No.
I'm trying to figure out where that was.
Yeah, I know that there's like Tornado Alley in the States that they get tornadoes regularly enough that people just kind of carry on with their day when those warnings come up. And it's kind of like, well, if I see the tornado, like with my eyes, then I'll take cover, I guess. But even then, it's like, wants to be a certain closeness to be like a concern. It's like, it's a couple of kilometers away. Still, I'm fine.
Okay, I think
it was in Three Hills, Alberta.
Okay, I've got a link to the CBC article that I'll post in the chat.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I hope so. He's mowing his lawn and it's right there behind him.
Yep.
Oh, actually, okay, now it's coming back to me. I do remember a story, and then the guy was like, something like, I was trying to finish it before, or whatever. And it's like,
I was keeping an eye on it.
Or it's like something like, my wife asked me to do it, or something like that. I can't remember what the context was.
Literally, the headline is, "Man who mowed lawn with tornado behind him says he, quote, was keeping an eye on it." And just immediately below that, quote, "It looks much closer if you look in the photo, but it was really far away."
It's like, I'm pretty sure the photo says exactly how far away it was.
Yeah. It looked closer than it actually was.
It was a ways away. It wasn't. Yeah.
But I mean, if that tornado actually hit and ruined his lawn mowing job, boy, would he have felt silly.
It's good that the emergency alerts are working, and I guess I think they're rolled out Canada-wide now. Like Alberta and BC, I think, were the last ones.
I hope. No, because the first day was Ontario and Quebec, which ended up being some of Ontario, because there was a coding glitch that meant that Quebec just didn't get it at all.
As it should be. I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
That's some separatist fodder right there. You see these mots Anglos? They do not care if we get the alert. And then it was the rest of Canada the day after.
Right.
But,
I sent the alert out to Quebec.
You sent it out? you screenshotted the alert and then tweeted it like, Quebec, heads up.
Bunch of tweets.
Look out.
Just going to hashtag QC Poly or something.
Hopefully, like, people who aren't in like a data zone or don't have data access at the time, like, they still get some sort of text alert as like a backup alert type thing. If this does require,
well, like I said, I got the push notification on my phone where it like kind of rang the phone itself, and then a couple minutes later I got a text as well.
Oh,
but the text I got said, "Hey, you just received a test alert. Go to this site for more information." So maybe if it was an actual alert, it would give you the details of the alert in the text. So like, I guess people in Ontario, if you've gotten, or I guess even Alberta at this point, if you've got an alert since the test, like an actual real one, and then you got a text after, then let us know. And because I'm curious how that would work. Because I'd hope that you're not restricted to just having the alert go to data people. Off the grid people matter. Yeah.
Rural lives matter.
Yeah, there you go.
Stance from Mike. Yeah.
So I guess as we wrap up here, I'm not sure if you guys have noticed yet, but Dan from Northern Nerdcast is here. We had Trina on last week or last month, I guess, and Dan's here today. So Dan, for those who haven't heard of Northern Nerdcast, did you want to tell us a bit about yourself, your show, and where people can find you?
Yeah, so the Northern Nerdcast focuses on the Edmonton geeky, nerdy people groups and events that happen in and around the city of Edmonton. We do a podcast every week featuring someone from the community, and we usually like to showcase people from Edmonton or around this beautiful province of ours. So we like to do that. We do all sorts of stuff, though. We do some videos. I haven't done that many lately, just because I'm getting really lazy. And,
as one does.
The podcast is more of our focus now, and so we spend most of our time doing that now. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're doing now.
Nick and I have been on your show, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
it really was.
Recommend checking it out. Where can people find your show?
They can find it on our very own website at northernernetwork.com. You guys can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, northern_nerd on Twitter. So we're all over the place.
Yep.
And would you say that you're a proud member or the proudest member of the Alberta Podcast Network?
Well, I don't like to brag, but we were the top 10 for the podcast network. We were
nice.
when the podcast network came on, we're like, oh, I hope we make it in there, sometime during the year. No, we made it first batch. So
nice.
So in fairness, they didn't extend it to Calgary until like 6 months after.
Yes.
So I mean that's still impressive.
Mike, you're being salty on the air. Just let it go.
Half as much competition, but still pretty good.
No, it's great to be a part of the network. There's so many great podcasts on here, including your guys's, which I listen to quite often.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's great. Like, I love being part of the network. The Alberta Podcast Network has been a great place for us. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's actually been cool seeing all the different podcasts out there. Like the big podcast networks and the big shows people are all familiar with, but there's actually a lot of good content just locally between Calgary and Edmonton. I'm sure everywhere else in Alberta too. Like I actually first got exposed to kind of the local YouTube scene first, and there's a lot of talent there as well. So it's really encouraging to see this content creation from local people in Alberta talking about Alberta stuff. So it's been a lot of fun doing that.
I just continually am surprised by what Alberta has, what Edmonton has, all this stuff, because every time I turn around, I'm like, oh, what are we going to be able to talk about this week? Or who can we get for guests? And I go online for a little bit and I'm like, oh, here's this thing. Oh, this looks cool. Oh my goodness, these guys are doing some awesome. So yeah, there's being a part of this network is like even expanded what I can see even more. And so it's been great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today, Dan.
Well, thanks for having me.
I guess we will see everyone next month.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I would normally click go off air, but we've been off air this whole time.
All right.
Cool. Yeah, so just send the wave file. I don't know if you record in stereo or mono, but either one's fine. If it's in mono, then it's better. It's
in stereo right now.
Okay. Either way, I can put it down to mono in post. But yeah, just send the wave file if you could, and that'd be great.
Okay. It'll be before I get that wave.
What's that?
I have to go to church right now, so
okay. Yeah, I mean, like I won't be editing it right away, so sometime today would be ideal.
Oh yeah, I'll get it to you right as soon as I get back home.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.
Enjoy.
Have a fun time.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, see ya.
Thank you for coming on. It was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, see you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.